Hello, welcome to Charley's Garage. I'm here with Joshua Taylor. Anybody that has been involved in the logistics, transportation, vehicle maintenance industry that spent any amount of time on social media or LinkedIn or anywhere else has probably seen or heard of Joshua. And if you haven't heard of him or seen him, then it's probably because you're not paying attention. Uh,
Don't do that to them right away, Charlie. Don't do that to them right away.
Uh, so for years, I've been doing this channel, and all you guys have heard from is me talking about diesel technician stuff. And I get so many young people wanting advice on how to manage lives in a shop, how to communicate with management, what is the role that they should be focused on, and questions that are outside the realm of this is how you fix a valve, right? So I've invited a host of people to come in and do segments on my channel, with Joshua being one of the first ones I looked at because everything he posts out there I learned something from. So Joshua, I'll let you take it away for a minute, kind of tell us what your role in the industry is, what your focus is, and what it is you want people to know about you.
Hey, folks. So I am Joshua Taylor. I've been around making content for about the last 3.5 years, focused on technicians, helping technicians live happier, healthier, more productive lives through content on the Wrench podcast. I am also a licensed technician up here in the Canada. So I got my license back in 2007, started in the trade unofficially in 2001. So I've been around a hot minute, around the block a few times. My alma mater is Mopar. Most of my career was spent with CDJR stores. I've also worked professionally on Toyotas and worked in a collision center as a general manager. I've done just about everything you can do in terms of service, fixed, cleaned. I've been in parts. I've fixed ops director, like you name it. I've pretty much done it with regards to service. 3.5 years ago, a little bit more than that, almost 4 years ago now, my grandfather died, and that's the reason why the podcast exists in the first place. I realized that I was trying to do things inappropriately, not necessarily underhandedly, but just being selfish. And I realized that my grandfathers wouldn't be proud of me because they spent their entire careers giving back to the community. While Automotive has given me a great career, provided for my family and myself. So what did I need to do to give back to my community? Well, I came across an article while doing research, trying to figure out what to do. This article was published in 2016 by the American CDC, talking about suicide and profession. And I found out that mechanics are in the top 3 professions that commit suicide.
Wow.
So I've spent the last 3.5 years figuring out different ways, means of helping you folks with through content on how to live happier, healthier, more productive lives in the shop. Now, there's a whole host of things that can be done. An absolute whole host of things. I've got nearly 200 episodes on the podcast, talking with panels, talking one-to-ones with mechanics, with service leaders, with vendors, with therapists, all coming up with new ways and new means to live better on the shop floor. Every single one of those things, especially the one-on-ones, if you go check it out, the one-on-ones always ends with me asking the guest for a piece of advice to live happier, healthy, more productive lives. And every single one of them have a slightly different answer, or a very, very different answer. And what it's come down to in the last 3.5 years is that power skills, meaning how to speak to your leadership, how to speak to your baymates, how to speak to parts, how to speak, whether it's from a sales standpoint, because we do sell as technicians, we're selling ourselves, we're selling our services, whether it's selling ourselves in a video MPI. Those communication skills, those power skills are the most important things that we need to learn that isn't technical training like Charley provides, like the manufacturers provide. So me being the person I am, I seek out these individuals to be on the show, seek out these professionals that come to speak on panels and things of that nature to provide you guys with power skills to level up. Because nobody is out there teaching us as mechanics contextual information for us to become leaders, to make changes in shops as shop foremen or senior technicians. The guys and girls out there that are trying to make a difference in the shop, who see something that's not quite right and want to make a change. That's the kind of stuff that I love talking about. That's the kind of stuff that I've been making content for the last 3.5 years. And I really appreciate Charley inviting me on. And it sounds like we're going to get to do this pretty regularly to provide you guys with a little bit different perspectives from different ways.
And that's one of the reasons why I was so excited to talk to you, because you do talk to so many people and you get so many different points of view in that it's something where I figure I can talk to you once a month and you probably get a different piece of information from a different person. And that's really cool. And I think you're dead on with that. Is when I was a technician, even though I was in the military and I had training going up through the ranks, I just could not really find a way to transition into civilian leadership. When I became a shop manager and a fleet manager, I felt like I was tripping all over myself, learning as I went. And I would have died to have had something like you to watch leading up to that and build on. So that's one of the things I always tell my students is that, you're lucky and you really enjoy being on a shop floor, you'll be able to do it for a very long time. But the reality is that most of us start to get broke down eventually, and the choices are a different career, splitting off into a different direction, or working our way up the service ladder and getting into a position where we're not breaking our back every day. And that if they don't start building those skills now while they're young, they're going to be stuck later on. At least that's the way I look at it.
Agreed. One of the challenges that many mechanics over the last several years have always been faced with when they come to me is A, there's always a conversation about pay, and someone's going to, how do I make more money? My first answer to that is always, are you well trained? And that's problem one. Most of the time, most technicians that come to me who want to make more money, who want to grow or simply just make more money, they don't have all the training that can be provided to them. Meaning you're working for a brand, and this is mostly in automotive. From what I understand now that I'm diving deeper and talking to more people, and in other categories, not just automotive, in heavy duty diesel, in marine, in power sports, it seems to be the same across the board. Most of the folks who want to make more money haven't yet achieved the highest level of training in their brand that they can achieve. This is ASC's aside. Level, branded technical training, max that out. And if you're still not making the money you want to make, then we look at other things. Two, when we talk about talking to different people, you're looking at different perspectives. Pay plans that we go into, communication. What can we learn and do and grow in terms of leadership? Well, what does it take to lead? Well, are you reading? Are you doing any kind of reading at all in terms of leadership? Are you listening to Jocko? Are you listening to Simon? Are you listening to Gary? Are you listening to all the different people with very different leadership perspectives? What are you doing to educate yourselves in that manner? And three, when they come to me, it's like, well, what else can I do? Well, surround yourself with people who are like-minded. They don't necessarily have to be in your specific vertical. Like if you're in automotive, like I've been most of my career, you don't have to just surround yourself with people in automotive. Talk to the HD mechanics, talk to the marine mechanics, talk to the aircraft mechanics. What are they doing in their shops that you could maybe pull into yours? The people who have the drive and the tenacity to be more than they are. Listen to those people. Get your group nice, small, tight, but have the same goals. It's very difficult when we're in a shop full of people who are just, this sucks, I hate being a mechanic, this sucks, da 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 da. If you're surrounded by those people, even if you're just surrounded by those people, it's going to bring you down. You're going to try and invest in your small community around you. So training, power skills, and your small network of people around you.
Yeah. So like my world, I'm surrounded by these young people, usually 18, 19, 20 years old. They're just getting into the industry. Some of them haven't even worked on a shop floor yet. They're working
Or
at,
cracked puberty yet.
Yeah, they're in that range, right? And they're working at a McDonald's or at an Amazon warehouse trying to pay their way through school, and then they're going to go out there and get a job. And I try to encourage some of them, it doesn't matter if it's discount tire or even working at a parts store. Get something industry related while you're going to school so that you know the jargon, you know the lingo, you feel comfortable when you get to a shop. What's your main piece of advice for someone that's that young, that's getting ready to just step into that shop floor for the first time?
I think the most important thing for anyone who wants to be a mechanic, and this is really advice that applies to any person out there in the world who is that 18 to 25. This piece of advice applies to anybody who is 18 to 25. The most important decision that you make is finding the high value leader that you want to be led by. Everything else is secondary, because a high value leader is going to provide you with the tools, the support, and the resources to succeed. If you do not find a high value leader, you are not going to succeed. You might get little bits here, you might make some hours here, you might get some education here, but it's not going to be the kind of success that you need to get early on so that you take that accelerated path to success. What I do know from my experience through coaching, through my experience with the survey I ran several years ago, that there is a plateau that occurs if you don't have a high value leader. There is some numbers in there, and let me throw a little bit of statistics for those who haven't seen some older episodes or haven't heard this before. But the survey I did several years ago, basically a wellness survey. I did a little bit more than 30 dealerships, a little over 500 technicians, and the pay average is based on training. So level 1 made no more than $40,000 a year. Level 2 made no more than $60,000 a year. However, the level 3 trained technicians made an average in America, in automotive, in those dealerships, made an average of $110,000 US a year. And they started, I did not have a single technician who had level 3 training complete. Level 3 training complete, so your advanced level stuff. Not the super doctor of the house stuff, like the super hyper specialized stuff, but the level 3 advanced level training complete. They made starting at $80,000 a year. That's full double to start of the level 1 max and almost triple as an average of the level 1. So let's bring this back to the question. What should you be looking for? Well, that high value leader is going to have a career path for you. They're going to say, okay, these are the steps that I need you to take as an aspiring technician in this industry. Doesn't matter heavy duty, doesn't matter whether it's diesel, doesn't matter whether it's mobile or automotive, or it doesn't matter. These are the steps that we need you to take for your training. You need to get this done, you need to get this done, you need to get this done. When that happens, then you're going to be learning these things with this person in the shop. Then you're going to take this training and this training and this training and this training. And when you get to there, more than likely, and not necessarily more than likely, in these circumstances, maybe we'll provide you with tools, or maybe we'll provide you with this, or maybe we'll provide you with this. And then you do these trainings. That career path only comes with high value leaders. Okay. Bosses simply say, there's the toolbox, or there's where your toolbox goes. These are the things you're working on today. Go. It's the same concept of what the service advisors have been saying for years. There's the desk, there's the pen, there's the phone, get to work. Boss, high value leader. And those high value leaders create those level 3 technicians who, after a very short period of time, it's usually around the 7 to 9 year mark is where I saw it in the data. 7 to 9 year mark. If someone hadn't achieved level 3 by 7 to 9 years, they weren't going to achieve it.
Right.
Whether it's through their lack of drive or a lack of high value leadership, one or the other. Once they hit the level 3, then the scale goes through the roof. So that's the first thing I always say. Find a high value leader that you want to be led by. Then find the rest of the things.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I try to reinforce is that you're right. You need that high level leader, someone that's going to provide that roadmap and that direction and that support. But I tell my students that you have to be basically a high value employee. You can't ignore, you find that person that's going to give you that support and give you that roadmap. You got to stay on the road. You can't go veering off of it. And that's where I think a lot of my disconnects I have with some of the students is that they don't, at this point in their career, it's just a school, right? It's something that they're paying to go to. They're not getting paid to be here. So the attitude is very different. And I'm telling them, you develop habits in school that will carry you forward in life. And I see some of them that'll take that to heart and do that. And I think if those people can get paired with those high value leaders that you're talking about, that's where you get those stellar performers. So I think it's worth it.
Just to make sure that I understand completely, Charlie, what is the time frame for your students? They start and then they graduate. What's that timeline?
It depends on their program, but it could be anywhere from 8 months to 18 months, right? So
Okay.
if they come into this school as auto only, they're here around 8 months, I think. If they're auto and diesel, it's around 14 months. And then if they add any kind of manufacturer advanced training, then it could be up to 18 months. So
this is a piece of advice for anybody going into the program in, on, or around Charley, or any college for that matter. If you're going into school for 8 or 18 months, it doesn't matter. The most important thing that an employer in a shop, any service manager, any hiring manager for a shop or a dealership, doesn't matter industry, the most important thing about finishing that means that you went to a place every day. You showed up every day. You worked every day. And at the end of it, you performed a positive result. And you did that consistently for 8, 12, 18, 24 months. What you learned, yes, very important. But it's more important that you actually show up every single day. You put in the work. You actually reinforce that you were doing the work by getting positive results by testing, and then provided that to the employer, saying, hey, I just finished college. Had great grades. I really want to do this. So A, it shows drive. B, it shows consistency. And C, it shows that you're reliable. That is the most important thing on that resume is not the fact that you went to college. It's the fact that you completed something institutional like a job for that period of time.
and I think a lot of them don't realize that their transcripts show their attendance record. And I tell people, I was like, I would rather hire someone that graduated this school with an 87% average and 100% attendance than someone that has a 94 and a 89% average attendance. All right. So I want to know that someone I hire is going to show up every day and be reliable as much as possible. And I've seen that. I see that from all the employers that come here that request transcripts. I've seen it as an employer myself when I was a fleet manager. And I tell people that it's like the ones that don't come to school every day, hey, if they don't ask you for a transcript, you probably shouldn't give them one.
Yeah, probably not. Absolutely not. And this is, exemplified in the shop, right? You want people who are willing to do the really boring, really monotonous stuff every single day. Occasionally, there's going to be challenges. Absolutely, there's going to be learning. But it's the really, really boring stuff, doing the same thing every single day, day in, day out, that make the business and themselves the most money. It's the boring stuff that makes us the money as mechanics. Do you want to do brakes 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I cannot stand what happens to my face, my hands, my skin, what goes into my nose, even though I wear the thing. It just goes through the mask and in my thing because I'm not shaving my beard. Absolutely not. I have not been beardless for well over a decade. But when I get that brake dust in my nose, it is awful. But what pays better than a brake job? Nearly nothing.
That's true.
What is easier than a brake job? Nearly nothing.
nothing.
To do it properly, to do it safely, to do it quickly makes us all a lot of money.
That's
It's
true.
the boring stuff that makes us the money. And by going to school and showing an employer that you're willing to do the boring stuff that you don't want to do day in, day out, and get a positive result means that they're going to be, you are very employable, you are very coachable.
Yeah. So what do you think is the biggest disconnect right now there is between employers, fleet managers, the people organizing the work and the people doing the work? Where's the disconnect in the industry right now? I know there's probably more than one, but what's the big one?
I think the most important disconnect to resolve in the shortest period of time that we can is the concept that the rate of innovation of our technology is exceeding any human comprehension right now. And to add to that, the ability to have options. So what I mean by that is it's kind of two parts, it's kind of one. So today's children, and I mean children under the age of 25, we do not have fully developed brains as humans until we're 25. That is a scientific biological fact. We do not get fully formed brains until we're 25. So if you're under the age of 25, you are still a child. I was a child until 25, 100%. Did I instantly turn
Same
into an
here.
adult when I was 26? No. But I was 100% not making great decisions until after 25. Because there are so many options for the youth across the board, leadership, management, and ownership do not comprehend that an 18-year-old can sit at their computer that they probably were bought by their parents in their basement and make faceless YouTube videos. Now, there's thousands of these things out there, but I've seen it. If they grind away and make faceless YouTube videos where they do no video themselves, they pull information in and put stuff on the internet and monetize that and make a living doing that. They can do that at 18 or younger. That is what we are competing with. They are really, 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 really smart people. These youth, 18 to 25, they're coming up with all kinds of supremely creative ways to make money. And they're doing it without education, past high school. They're doing it without college degrees. They're doing it without a trade or vocational license of any description. And they're making a living doing it. That's what we are competing with. We are competing with the not the restaurants, but the fast food stores like Buc-ee's and like McDonald's and so forth that are paying more than many of the shops want to pay for an entry-level technician to come in the door. These are aspiring people. They want to do more with their lives, but they can't afford to live on minimum wage and buy tools. So let's take a step back as leaders, as owners, as managers, really understand who it is that's in front of us. Because it's up to us to cultivate that generation, that group of people, to become successful members of society. If we don't have mechanics fixing things, everything degrades. The world stops. So when we look and reflect on how we talk to them, what we teach them, what we provide to them, whether it's protection, whether it's security, whether it's monetary values, we have to be the person, the people in the business that these young people want to work for. If we are not the shining model example of who they want to work for, they are never going to work for us. This trade is way too hard on ourselves mentally and physically over our careers for anyone to go, I want to be beat up by the time I'm 40. I want to have a shoulder surgery, 2 knee surgeries, concussions, bleeding, and steel in my body at 40. I don't want any of that. Why would I possibly want that? They don't understand what you and I both know and both love is that when you fix something, when something comes to you and comes into your bay and it's broken, it doesn't work, it doesn't start, it doesn't turn over, it doesn't stay running, it doesn't matter. It doesn't work. And a family owns that piece of equipment. And you know they can't do their family things without it being fixed. And no one else can fix it. And even if anyone else can fix it because it's brakes. When you fix that thing and you provide that thing back to that family so that they can do the things that their family does, that reward is epic. I felt that in my soul when I did those things. But until we get them in the shop to realize that they are affecting change in other families and providing them with safety and security in their vehicle and transportation so they can go do the things that they want to do, until we educate these young people that that's what they're doing, we're doing a disservice to ourselves.
Yeah, I agree. I just recently, there's a lady I follow on LinkedIn, and she's always posting these articles and these stories that she writes about company culture and to inclusiveness and all these buzzwords, right? About how they love their technicians and we bought them cupcakes and whatever. But then I see her post a job. Trailer mechanic, 17.50 an hour, and I'm like, eh. And as I'm driving home, I stop at McDonald's and I'm going through the drive-through, and right there on the window, starting at 19.25 an hour, and I'm like, so you want this guy to work here in Arizona in 110-degree heat on these trailers, probably more closer to 120 on the asphalt, and bust his butt doing this while you pay him $2 less an hour than he could just dropping fries in a fryer. It's like I don't see how you're going to attract people to, at least quality people, to do jobs like that if that's kind of where you're at. The culture thing that she does a lot of, I understand that, because I don't want to work in a place that has a crappy culture, but I also want to be able to feed my family and pay my rent.
Mm-hmm.
so I
Culture
think
is irrelevant if you can't pay your bills.
exactly, it doesn't matter if it's a choice between paying the bills and putting food on the table and working in a shitty place. I'm going to work at that shitty place until I find something better. But
Right.
there shouldn't be, you shouldn't have to make that choice. That's where I see the disconnect, is that it's just. But then again, I also think that there is, on the other side of the table, is the expectation of these young guys that think that they're just going to walk into a shop and make 60, 70 grand a year right off the bat, and it's like, no, you got to learn and build to that. You're not going to start that right away, at least not in most places. But at the same time, I'm sitting here teaching them stuff where I'm telling them they have to be a fluid dynamics expert, an electrician, a computer specialist, just to work on a car. And they're like, I could just learn one of those things and get a career in a different industry. So there's
Right.
a lot of disconnects there.
I think conceptually you brought up a good point there. And I think this is part of the disconnect at the leadership level in understanding how fast the rate of innovation and inflation and all the rest of the things are affecting these young people, right? 60, 70 grand isn't a lot of money anymore. It really
No,
isn't.
it's
And when
not.
you look at what it is on top of the things that we have to pay for as mechanics, yes, there are many shops now, especially out in the West Coast, that are doing things differently with tools because of mandates and so on and so forth. And that some hourly shops are starting to provide tools in the toolboxes, like they're built-ins with tools. That's a whole different category. We have Sonic tools that make a great platform, a series of platforms, so that it can grow with the technician. Da 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 da. But at the end of the day, we still got to provide tools and we still got to get constant education across the board. There is never a point where we need to stop learning as a technician, right? And whether say we work at a dealership of some description, doesn't matter whether it's planes, trains, or automobiles, it doesn't matter. They all have a brand, they all have brand training to some degree. You're going to max that out at some point. But that's not where the education stops, right? The power skills need to continue for a lifetime. Your technical skills outside of what the brand teaches you needs to continue for a lifetime, because cars are evolving faster than the brands can provide training,
Oh yeah,
right?
way
You
faster.
have all of these equipment suppliers like Hunter Engineering and UVI. These are technologies and systems people who provide tools and large equipment that we need to learn how to use effectively. You've got the brand new ADAS system. Well, it's not brand new. It's been around for a very hot minute. So we have a whole fleet of people who don't understand what ADAS even is, let alone how to fix it, how to calibrate it, how to do an alignment on a car that has it, right? That disconnect is almost like it's a disconnect from reality, but I wouldn't necessarily it's a disconnect from reality. Their reality is such, and the people that are living the reality that they came through, that reality doesn't exist anymore.
No, it's completely
It's
different.
completely gone. So when we look at, let's talk about pay for a second. When we look at pay, just at pay, a young person who is 18 to 25 making 60 grand should not be something they spend 5 years achieving.
No, no.
Because the cost of living across the continental US, as of the last time I checked in 2024, the average cost of living for one single person, not a family, one single person, was just shy of $55,000 a year.
Oh, really? Wow, I didn't know
So the
that.
cost of living aggregate average across the country, now it's going to be obviously higher and lower depending on the state and the metro and rural areas, and it fluctuates somewhere between $47,000 and like $68,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. But it's roughly $55,000 a year cost of living. And that cost of living includes being able to live, not just survive and pay bills and rent. That is also living. So when you consider that a 21-year-old man or a 21-year-old woman who is single, who is moving to a new job, so they're no longer living with their parents, so they have to pay rent, more than likely they have to pay for a car and all of the extenuating accessory, ancillary things that they got to pay for because you own a car. They have to feed themselves, they have to pay insurance, they have to pay for benefits and all of those things. $55,000 a year is really only $27.50 an hour.
Wow.
Think about it contextually. If they're working 40 hours a week, that's 2,000 hours a year. That's roughly $27.50 an hour. $27.50 an hour to somebody who's 21 should not be a dream.
No, it should be reasonable.
That's reasonable,
Yeah.
right? So how do we as leaders look at the people who are in front of us, understand that for them to simply enjoy life outside of work, they need to make a certain amount of money? Doesn't matter how skilled or not skilled they are. In order for them to survive as a human being in wherever they happen to be, there is a number that they need to achieve. And if they can't get there quickly, we are not providing a business for them to work in to be successful.
No.
So we're not just talking about pay now. We're now talking about thriving in life. If we are not providing a pathway for success for the people that are working in our businesses to be successful in life outside of the shop, they're not going to come work for us.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, I think it this way: what I get paid for my job and what I get paid on my military retirement, and I'm in a dual income household, and there's still months where me and my wife are looking at each other, going, "Where'd all the money go?" And I'm making significantly more than what we just talked about. So I can see how, someone that's starting out, trying to support themselves and maybe even potentially a family is a very different reality than what it was when I was 21 years old. So it's something that, I spewed out 60, 70 grand out there earlier. Now that I'm thinking about it, I realize that I'm probably one of those people that needs to reassess kind of what that pay scale is.
And it really is just a matter of, I think, a bit of self-accountability, self-reflection, understand that what lens are you looking through? If you're only looking, and this is leaders, and you brought up earlier the concept of, what was the word that you used? So there's high value leadership, a high value employee. I think that's what you use. I really like that as well. The high value employee understands that if it doesn't matter what they're paying me, it is my obligation to provide the best employee-ness to this company that is paying me to do the work. They're paying me to do a job. Let me do the job to the best of my ability. Well, it's cyclical. If high-value leaders provide all the tools, resources, and support for an employee to be successful, that includes the right pay, right? That includes the right pay, not just the tools, the resources, and support, right? Resources is also, can they actually afford to get to and from work? Can they afford to thrive outside of work? If you're doing that, now that employee, that person, that team member is going, okay, I'm learning. I'd love to make more money, but my bills are paid. Okay, I don't have bill stress. I don't have financial stress in that regard. My bills are paid. Okay, I'm getting to work reliably because I'm no longer driving a 25-year-old car that's broken 3 ways from Sunday, and I'm fixing it every morning to get to work. Okay, I don't have any stress in that regard. Okay, I'm getting to work every day. Okay, I'm learning more. I'm learning more. Oh, they just paid me more because I got my level 3 training. Oh my God, I'm making more money. Okay, they're rewarding my training. They're rewarding my effort. They're more rewarding. So it's the cyclical. High value leadership, high value employee. Cyclical. It requires both, right? If you are not a high value employee because you're doing the bare minimum, or in most circumstances, people say, I'm doing the bare minimum. Well, I understand the concept of doing the job that you're being paid to do. I understand that concept. I'm doing the job I'm being paid to do. That's okay. Don't complain about not getting paid more, and don't complain about not being chosen for opportunities. Right? If you are not actively seeking a way to, how do I get better at doing what I'm doing so that I have opportunities to either advance or make more money? Because that's really the only two options. Either I get to do more things like leadership, whatever, lead teams, whatever,
Be a
or
mentor.
be a mentor, or get paid more money. What do I do to do that? And if you're not asking for those things, then go, okay, well, this, and this. Go get those things done and I'll pay you more money. Okay, awesome. I just went and did this, and this. Pay more money. Okay, awesome. Here's more money. That's the high value employee.
Yep.
Very few people are actually doing that.
Yeah. That's true. Well, Joshua, it was awesome talking to you today. Make sure you check out it's Wrench Turner's podcast. Look him up on YouTube. I'm going to put the link to his site down here in the description, so look out for that. Do him a favor, visit right down there. As you can see, I'm the guy that usually likes to point the camera at engines instead of myself, where he's the guy with the fancy microphone. So if you're going to listen to advice, he's the guy, right? So I hope to do this again very soon. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you have any questions or comments for either me or Joshua, please put them in the comment section. Visit his channel. It's going to be worth your time, I promise you. And thank you for watching. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you very much, folks. Have yourself a great day.